Hoka, hey, Alita Army. Welcome to the Alita Livestream of February the 2nd, 2024. General Alita discussion. What does the chat want? Where we discuss all things to do with the movie Alita Battle Angel, the source manga Gundam, and the greatly desired sequels. I am your host, the Creek Indian, and from Denver, Colorado. And with me are Matu from France.
Bonsoir, how is it going?
Good. How's it going with you?
Good too.
Cool. And from Fountain, Colorado, we have Lee.
Howdy.
And Lee, I forgot to advance the slide again, but that's okay because this is the slide. So anyway, just want to let everybody know that anybody watching this stream that we have Rosa's Queen Studio bust, and hopefully she'll get word somehow that we've got this bust. This thing is sitting in my house right now, still in the box. The Creek has resisted temptation in opening the box to look at it, because what you see on the left there is just a picture off of I downloaded. So so it's still in pristine condition in that box. And so at this point, Lee, this is where I was going to do this. So so how are things in France, Matu?
They're doing good. We don't have much news or anything about Alita. I would know if we did, but it's quiet. I say quiet and calm.
Yeah, that's right. We were talking about that pre-stream there. It's quiet's a good thing. And so, it does have its advantages for sure. And Lee, down there in Fountain, are you guys getting cold weather like we are here?
Not real cold. Seems to be pretty good right now.
Oh, okay.
Fairly, wouldn't say warm temperatures, but certainly not, freezing or snow or anything like that.
Oh, not like it was last weekend.
Nope.
Yeah, that was pretty brutal last weekend, where it was 5 degrees below 0 Celsius, I guess, and
something like that. Yeah, it was
9
bad.
degrees below. Well, it's more than 5. No, it was more than that, wasn't it?
Actually, I think it was
like
in the double digits in the
it's like negative 20 degrees Celsius and negative 9 degrees, I guess, Fahrenheit. So anyway. Yeah. I think it's, I don't know what it is. What the heck?
It was cold.
Yeah,
really cold.
That's right. Yeah, it was brutal is what it was. So, okay. Well, anyway, Angelus, poor old Angelus, I kind of pulled one on him this time, I guess. So, we pulled the time back to start the stream because I wanted to be, kind of considerate of Matu and Channel, because they're in Europe and it's real late, at night when we do the stream here, So anyway, Matu, I hope you appreciated that. But poor old Angelus, he probably has
I appreciate that a lot. Thank you very much. It's only 11 p.m. So thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And Angelus, now he has a hard enough time getting here on time anyway. So you pull it back an hour on him, and he's really struggling at that point. We got the Bad Man out there. We got Smendrick out there. We did have Dateslav Mandatory Carry out there, but he had to split. He couldn't stay. So anyway, we got a few folks out there, and that's a good thing. Just something to report here is the Creek Indians channel made 100,000 subscribers this morning.
Ooh.
So
congratulations! Wow. You're going to have the YouTube button thingy.
I guess so. I'm getting that. I guess I'll get that plaque, I guess, that they give you. And they always send out something like, now I made this one myself from another one just so I could put it on the stream, but yeah, they send you a nice plaque and all that. So, so anyway, hopefully that'll, because the Creek certainly isn't making any money on this, that's for sure. But hopefully it'll expose, kind of increase the exposure of Alita and Rosa, to the point to where, if the folks watching the stream, they keep getting entertained by videos and stuff like that. So, and we want to remind everybody to sign the petition. We have right now over 178,000 signatures. And this is our way of letting Disney know that we want that frickin' sequel, Disney, you hear us? You know, we want that sequel. Matter of fact, we want sequels. We don't want a sequel. We want sequels. We want plural. So anyway, you know, sign that petition. I'm sure everybody on this stream has already probably signed the petition. I think Matu, you and Lee have signed the petition already. So, you know, we're preaching to the choir here for the most
I think
part.
I signed it like several years ago.
Yeah, I signed it back in 2020, I think it was. So, but anyway, still, if you haven't signed it, go and click on it. You know, the link is going to be is down there in the description below the screen here. So you can sign on that and, you know, help us to tell Disney to remind them that we're here, we're not going away, and we want the sequel. And of course, with James Cameron, you know, he's working on sequels. So, you know, we want more than one. We also have the Hero Arm campaign going on. And right now we've raised a little over $2,700 for the Hero Arm campaign. And you might say, well, that's not a whole lot. We got a long way to go and all that kind of stuff. We don't really need $17,700 for the Hero Arm itself. We kind of added a little extra, you know, so we could fly the airplane around Disney headquarters when we did that last year. But in the bank, I think we got something like $4,150 or something like that. You know, I don't remember. I don't know what that is in euros. So it's probably 4,000 right in there as well with euros. But we have a link down in the description also below the screen you see here. And you know, you can click on that and go to the GoFundMe page and, you know, whatever, no amount's too small. And if you find that a little intimidating, we also got a tip jar down there. So you can click on that and it's a small amount you can donate if you click on that one. But no amount's too small. But if you can't donate and you see this get tweeted, just retweet it. You've done your part. So we want to make sure we give some deserving individual a bionic hand, kind of like Tilly got, you know, back when Alita Battle Angel came out in 2019. Tilly Lockey got those berserker themed arms. So that's kind of what this is, and we want to get somebody who needs it, you know. And we did another one, I guess, for a little boy a couple of years ago, and that was kind of cool. And we got a mass tweet coming up on February the 14th. And we want to, this is an example you see on the screen here. Down in the description below the screen, what's down there is kind of a, I guess you could call it a template or a form that you could copy and paste and put it into a tweet. You know, you could want to tweet as many times as you can, but we want to get everybody to at least tweet once. And if we can get all my subscribers to tweet at least once, then Disney's going to have a whole bunch of tweets in their inbox. So, you know, that's kind of what we want. We want them to know that we want that sequel. And not to go along with that here, but we're also going to fly a plane at the Oscars. We're going to do that, and I'll have a screen, rather a slide next week on that one to kind of just cap that off. But that's week after next, I think, when we're going to do that. But we've already hired the individuals that fly the airplane. I've got the I guess the videographer ready to go, and I think things are pretty much set for that one. So we're getting there on that as well. But on this mass tweet, that's we want to do that on February 14th because that's the 5th anniversary of Alita coming out in the movies. Okay, Matu, you or Lee got anything to add?
Nothing I can think of.
Cool. Okay, well, let's, I guess, move right along to the main topic here. Now we've talked about some of this stuff already, and this may be a real short stream tonight, folks. The Creek's got something he's got to do after the stream, so I'll have to get to it. But anyway, you know, some of the things we can talk about here, and we'll answer questions from the chat. And Juan Diego, I'm sorry, my Spanish is so horrible. that I'm not sure I can, I'll be able to answer a question, but I guess I can put it in Google Translate, I guess. My Spanish is pretty bad. My German's not a whole lot better, but I can kind of understand that. Smendrick, I think, and Finn get a big kick out of me sometimes when I speak German. So, so but any questions from the chat, y'all just put them in there. We'll talk about them, here on the stream. But here's some of the things we can talk about right here is what do we like the most? The anime, the manga, or the movie? Or we could say we like all three. That's okay too. And of course, as far as the manga goes, we got the Mars Chronicles, we got the original series, and we certainly got the Last Order. And we can talk about Alita's backstory, like when she was in the military, fighting in the Great War that brought about the fall. And or Motorball, we can talk about that, or we can talk about the Zenith of Things tournament, which is what she fights in at the end of Last Order. Not just fights in, but spoiler alert, her team wins. So, that was kind of a cool thing the way they did that too. Certainly, we can talk about her relationship with Hugo, with Ito, and Figure 4. Figure 4 is the Creek's favorite. So mainly because he's kind of buff and he's strong and all that kind of stuff. I kind of like that in him. Just about her physically, what her abilities, we can revisit that. And we can talk about some of the stuff we want to see, like sequels, series, and so forth. And if Angelus was here, we would be talking about that next to last bullet, Uwu. So, because that's something that I guess we know our girl has, is she's definitely cute, And as a matter of fact, I think Lee and Matu will agree with me on this. Some of her opponents, that Uwu kind of lulls them into a false sense of security, doesn't it? They think she's just a cute little girl. And
her small size and her, physical appearance often does seem to cause some people to underestimate her badly.
Yes, kind of like Zapan did in the Kansas bar.
Yep.
Yeah, he underestimated her big time, and that was
an example of that.
Yes, and that was definitely he did that at his own peril. Of course, at that point, I guess he didn't know Alita was powerful like that, and that was in her doll body too. Okay, the bad man rates them like this. He rates the manga first, then the movie, then the anime. I can see that. I can definitely see that. I think for me, I think the manga and the movie are pretty even. And the only reason I say that, I put the manga a little ahead of the movie, but the reason why I think they're pretty close to even is because I saw the movie first, and then I read the manga after that. The anime I've seen about 3 times, maybe 4 times, and I really like it, but it's not what the manga or the movie is. So anyway, thanks for that input, Bad Man. So anyway, Matu, what's anything else? I mean, do you want to talk about Zex? We can talk about him.
He is my adorable baby boy. I love him so much, and I am a huge fan of the manga first because I started reading Last Order when I was 12 for my birthday. A friend with who I was taking drama class gifted it to me because he was like, oh, she's not a girly, she likes video game, so I'm going to give her this manga. So I started with Last Order. I discovered Gundam after Last Order, and I really got heavily into it when I was 17. So the manga will forever hold an extremely special spot for me, and it's a masterpiece. It's just the best manga I've ever read. The anime is okay, and the movie, of course, it's great. I love it.
Yeah. Wow, what a great birthday present to get the manga.
Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah, that's when I have since long. Oh my god, I lost contact with him since a very long time now. But that guy, he has no idea of the lifelong obsession he started that day in my little 12-year-old heart.
Nice. Yeah, Bad Man, I saw the movie first as well. I didn't see it on Blu-ray. I saw it on HBO when it came out in March of 2020. a business trip and I saw it. I think I've told this story before, but I think when I saw the trailers for Alita, that was back during I guess the first trailer I saw was during the 2019 Super Bowl when the Kansas City Chiefs played the San Francisco 49ers, like they're going to do again this year. So I saw that trailer and it really didn't do much for me. I mean, and maybe it's because I was more intent on watching the football game or something like that. Maybe I knew who Alita was. I mean, because I'd seen her. They had at this one comic book store. They had a couple of volumes of the manga that were in that comic book store, and I remember looking through it and thinking, "Oh, this is interesting," But It didn't really grab me, And when I saw the trailers, I said, I'm not too interested in seeing a teenage girl beat up on cyborgs and androids and stuff like that, And I was on that business trip, and I was in a hotel, in Dallas, Texas, and I saw the movie. I was kind of flipping through the channels, and I saw Alita Battle Angel come up on HBO. Just happened to click on it just as the 20th Century Fox thing, was coming up, and I said, well, hell, I got nothing better to do. I may as well give this a chance. And I never have regretted it ever since. My only regret is I didn't see it in the movie when it came out in 2019 in the theaters, but I've been hooked ever since. So Lee, what about you? Anything that comes to mind?
Sadly, not a whole lot. No. Unfortunately, my trying to keep up with my girlfriend's schedule to drive her into the hospital and back has meant I've been getting a little less sleep than I usually do. So
oh gosh,
yeah.
I know if I don't get 7 hours, I'm ruined the next day. Yeah.
Somehow she is able to operate on 5 hours a night consistently. I don't know how the hell she does that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'd be a basket case if I tried to, or a mental case, which some would say I am today. But I got to get my 7 hours. I can get by on a single day on 6 hours, but I can't do it 2 days in a row. I kind of get real sleepy and stuff like that. So yeah, Bad Man, I don't know about figure 1 to 12. I don't know about that. Figure 4, certainly he's I know Den and I have had the discussion about figure 4. Den thinks figure 4 is a Polynesian. I think he's an American Indian, but it doesn't matter. They're both pretty similar, in terms of their genetics, So, but I wanted to say too that Lee has got a story that I'm reading right now that's really, really good. As a matter of fact, Lee, I want to pull that sucker up. I'm not going to pull the story up. I'll just pull up the let's see, where is that in my, I'm going to pull that up on there it is. I'm just going to pull up the URL, that click on if they want to go read it. And let's see, where are we here? There we are. So if you want to go read Lee's story, let me put that in the chat here. There it is right there. It's in the, so you just kind of click on that and it'll take you over to that website.
Yeah, quick heads up. I am finishing up some rewrites of chapters 22 to 28.
Yeah.
Because I think I screwed up the story really badly trying to force a conflict between Alita and Jason that didn't need to be there.
Mm-hmm. Well, they do have little tiffs from time to time.
This was something a little more serious, and I was looking at it, I was like, realized that for some reason I got it stuck in my head that they had to have something a little bit more serious going on as far as a conflict between the two of them.
Yeah.
And I think that was partly the fault of my depression hitting me, because sometimes it'll do that and I stop thinking as clearly as I might otherwise. So when I finally got out of it, I was kind of like, this is a bad idea.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad.
I'm glad it doesn't mess up their friendship. I mean, granted, it's a story, you know, but
Yeah.
you know, I always thought when I first started reading the story and they met each other, and as time goes on, you know, you really get the feeling that they're developing a friendship. You know, now it's not a romantic thing, for sure. You know, but it's they're definitely.
I had absolutely no intention of having anything romantic develop between the two.
Yeah. But they're really close. They end up, at least to where I am, they're starting to be close friends, you know. So
Well, after what Jason just pulled in during that attack, they do end up becoming a bit closer. I mean, when somebody nearly gets themselves killed trying to protect your family and home, that
yeah,
changes things a little bit.
yeah, I think so, you know. But yeah. They should release the movie. They should do it in 3D. That's right, the sequels.
Yeah,
they should
absolutely.
do the sequels in 3D and IMAX.
I would say even re-release the first movie when the second sequel comes out, and when the third sequel comes out, re-release the first two movies along with it.
Well, they certainly should, and I think Juan Diego, I'm going to put your question in Google Translate because my Spanish is so bad that I am not going to take a chance on messing it up. So let's see what we got. Yeah. Anyway, Juan Diego Perez says he wants Alita to be released as soon. Alita 2 to be released as soon as possible. That's what I kind of thought it said, but I wanted to run it through Google
Just to
Translate
be sure, yeah.
just to be sure. Yeah. So anyway, thanks, Juan. We appreciate that. Okay, when you say a figure, Bad Man, are you talking about figure 4 there? Because she is in the Tuned Arc, or she's in the Badlands Arc when she meets figure 4, and she is in her tuned body. And there were some AR series that the AR means Alita replicants, and there were 12 of them. So, and of course, AR6 is Matu's love.
He's my baby.
His name is Zex, you know, for the German number 6, you know.
Yeah, I cannot think of him as, you know, a little boy or baby or anything like that.
It's an affectionate way to say that I really love that character. It's adorable.
I can't really, it's a...
Oh my god, it's cool. No, like, it's just, when you compare him to much more, I'm not saying badass, but rough character from different media. For example, like a Cyberpunk that I'm into, like, is really like a little cute baby that I want to hold, you know.
I suppose I just keep looking at him and I just keep seeing this highly trained
killing machine.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like
Who
I'm
really
talking
likes
about
to,
mentally.
really likes to fight.
But mentally, like, he has the maturity of like a child.
Yeah, he does.
He's so immature.
Yeah, the maturity of a temperamental child that's been trained to kill.
Yeah, exactly. This is why I really like him, and I feel like it would be so easy, you know, to mess with him, like in a cute way, you know, to annoy him, to make him blush, to tease him, like
messing with and annoying a highly trained. Yeah, I just
messing with a highly trained killing machine. Yeah.
Yeah, but like, it would be
being a girl, you could probably get away with it. I don't think.
Yeah, but like, it would be the to get all worked up, like, oh my god, I want to fight. Oh, I'm gonna punch you, but not do anything if the person in front of him is actually harmless and just teasing him, you know.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem to be. He has an aggressive personality, but he doesn't seem to be actually violent, you know.
Yeah.
You actually don't even see him like being kind of fighty outside of actual fighting matches.
Yeah,
like,
I guess he's pretty even-tempered outside the battlefield.
Yeah,
he is.
He's constantly like mocked by Alita, teased by the twins, and he of course he gets upset, but he never straight up like beat anyone. He just yells. He just yells.
Yeah,
but he actually falls.
Being teased by Alita is one thing.
Yes.
Being teased by a much more breakable human being, that could be something else entirely.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he still wouldn't beat my ass because I would break his mind.
Uh-huh.
Well, Matt too.
Maybe.
I think Zex actually, him and Zeka actually kind of fall in love with each other, don't they? And they end up fighting each other. But I mean,
I ship them so hard. I'm like, that fight, it should have ended with a kiss.
I think with the two of them, it's basically them bonding over their love of fighting.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Yeah, for sure.
I really love the way like Zeka keeps saying, oh, he doesn't want to teach anyone, and he ends up like more or less teaching Zex like in his own way, and Zex is just like, he acts like he's so better than him, and at some point he even said, oh my god, I almost respected this guy, but you can see, oh, actually Zex like kind of look up to Zeka. I want to learn from him, but like in a tsundere way. It's adorable.
Badman, I think for them to make a figure replicant series, kind of like they did the AR series, they would have to see Figure 4 as somebody like Alita has got value added to their program. I'm not sure. I mean, Figure 4 is pretty badass. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I think Zex actually takes his arm off at one point, but he's pretty badass. I think he killed like 38 cyborgs or something like that. But I'm not sure that they would see value added in making him a replicant.
That's the thing. I don't think Figure actually killed all those cyborgs. I think because he was always fairly specific on he wanted to defeat 100 cyborgs.
Yeah, that's right.
Which doesn't necessarily mean he has to kill them. He just beat them in a fight.
Well, that last one he did kill. That's the one that was trying to kill Alita, and he took exception to that shit.
Oh yeah.
He said, "No, you're not going to do that. I'm not going to let you do that." So, but he is pretty bad. That's for sure. He's bad news himself. He's a meat boy though, but he does end up with a cybernetic arm. So. Yeah. Kind of like
before that, he had some kind of highly advanced martial arts training that gave him a body tougher than a normal human.
Yeah, that's right. And he was kind of with that cybernetic arm too. It's kind of like a $6 million man, wasn't he?
I bet,
so in some ways, he didn't have cybernetic legs, obviously, but yeah.
But about characters, temperament and reaction, I don't know if you guys are familiar with a website called Character AI, which are basically like bots of fictional characters that people make, and you can chat with them. The next one has been ready recently, and I spent my entire evening yesterday like basically teasing him and messing with him, and it was so adorable, and it was accurate because the first thing I said was like, "Oh, I think you're really cute. I like you." And his first reaction was like, "Are you making fun of me? I'm going to fight you." And it was all cute like that until I realized I wasn't making fun of him. And then it became like, all kind of tsundere, like wanting to be not lovely, but wanting to be affectionate, but being like, "Yeah, this is a challenge. I'm going to make you blush. You're going to see all stuff like this." And it's really, really nice. And if you guys are interested in that, just go chatting with Character AI characters. Sometimes they're really well made and really well trained. So it can be extremely funny to do.
Yes. Hey, Badman says he's not expecting a figure series, but that Figure 4 is raised by the guy Toro 4. But I think Figure 4, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys, I think that's kind of a translation issue, wasn't it? Figure 4 is actually kind of a wrestling type thing, isn't it? Something like that. And I don't know how it got translated to Figure 4. Am I wrong about that or what? Does that ring a note to either one of you?
Can't really say it does. I never really paid much attention to the translation issues and stuff. I always just left that to people who knew a lot more about that than I did.
Yeah, and just read it for the story. Yeah.
Yeah.
We had so many translations issues in French. We had 4 different. We had 3 different editions of Gun and 3 different editions of Last Order, and each edition, some translation are revised and remade, which means that a lot of character, like for example, Zex in the first edition, his name was written with a Z, and when it was retranslated, it kept with an F. In Gundam Figure 4 is called Fogia, and in Last Order, in the first translation of Last Order, Toji's master, Tenpo. His first name was Donfa, and when it was retranslated, his name was Tenpo, and we had a lot of issues like this, of various like entire meaning of sentences that basically change from translation.
Yes.
So it's not even like consistent in French. We have so many different versions. It's annoying.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of like what Alita's name actually started out as Gary. Then it was Galley, and now it's Alita. It got changed to Alita for us Western audiences. But
I know that in French they kept Galley with 2 L. They kept Galley, and like the first time we heard Alita, like when I started getting online, making researches about the manga and such. At first, I was not finding anything because I was looking for French name and the French translation. And then I learned that Alita was used mostly in USA. And I thought it was a pretty name, but I was like, that's kind of dumb. Why did they translate it? But the reason behind it works. And when the movie was announced as Alita Battle Angel and her name being Alita, I can tell you the entire French fandom completely rioted. We were all like, why did if American want to call her Alita, okay, why didn't they translate it in French for Gali? And like it was an absolute riot. Like before the movie came out, I was against the movie. I was like, I don't like her eyes. It's going to be shit. Like I was, one of these really annoying gatekeeping fan that absolutely hated everything else than the manga. And of course, I changed my mind because the movie is really great. But yeah, when it comes to translation, we're not the best. And same for Alita's name. Like, I mean, we're French. We complain all the time. What are you expecting else from us?
Yeah, when I heard that Alita's original name was Gary, that tickled me no end because that's my name. So I thought that was pretty cool.
That was a sign all along. She wanted to have the same name as her uncle.
Yeah, that's right. The same name as her uncle. That's right. Uncle Creek. Yeah, for sure, So, yeah, I think, though, in terms of kind of going back to what I guess Badman was saying, or a couple of things he brought up, that Badlands Arc, that's probably not going to happen until the third movie, would be my guess. Unless they separated the Motorball arc and the Zerkerpan arc, then it would be the fourth movie if they did that. Because the Badlands arc actually takes place after that yellow door thing and all that stuff, So, but I personally think that, knowing Cameron likes to make, he made Avatar 2 a lot longer than Avatar 1. So I think when Alita comes out, Alita 2 is going to be, it's going to be a lot longer movie, I think.
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it will have the Motorball and the Zerkerpan arc in it. Because, and then, of course, that means the Badlands arc will be movie 3.
Yeah, have to be pushed off to the next movie.
Yeah, because they wouldn't be able to get it in unless they did something like the Snyder Cut version of Justice League, where it was a 4-hour movie. That's
not sure it'd go quite that long.
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, I think they would opt for a third movie before they'd do that. So anyway,
about the Motorball arc, there is a risk. When at the end of the first movie, you can see that Alita is already like an acclaimed Motorball contestant.
Yes.
So the risk would be that the Motorball arc in the sequel would be extremely short compared to the manga. Either extremely short, either some kind of, flashback, or extremely, vague. If they want to fit everything, we probably going to have an extremely short Motorball arc.
So you think the Motorball arc in Alita 2 would be an hour? Is that what you're saying?
I think maybe even less. Maybe even if they want to fit so many things in the second movie, I think it would be extremely cut and condensed in order to fit, not lose too many information. But this is the risk. I mean, that's my opinion, but I think it could be that way.
Okay. Yeah, because I think though, if any of you've ever read any of Maxie's fanfic, he's got like 11 chapters for the Motorball arc, and he's not actually. No, he's got. Excuse me, he's got 10 chapters.
Yeah, we're waiting on the 11th.
Yeah, we're waiting on 11 because
still waiting on the 11th chapter.
And if Maxie, if you're out there in the chat here, we're going to get you again.
Still waiting.
We are still waiting for chapter 11. So anyway, but Maxie's fanfic is really good too. Matter of fact, let me pull that one up, and I will also put that in. Let's see, where is that? I think this is it right here. Yeah, I'm going to put that in the. See, let me put that in the chat here. I think that's it right there. Well, somebody check on that. Maybe it isn't. I don't know. I'd have to go look at it. Let me see if I can pull that up, if that's the way it comes out to. Nope, that's not it. That is not it. Oh man, that's one of the. That's a news thing about Yukito Kishiro. So anyway, I'll have to dig that one up. I think because I've read all of Maxie's 10 chapters, and they're quite good too.
Yeah. I actually incorporated a few details out of his story into mine.
Oh yeah,
I really liked how he handled some of it.
Well, anyway, in your story, I think that part where she's playing Motorball, you kind of use that Maxie story as, and maybe you didn't put that in it exactly, but that was kind of inspiration, wasn't it, in your story, Lee? Or
a little bit, yeah. I wasn't sure how to do some of the action scenes, and reading his story gave me some pointers on it. But one of the things I did is he had a thing where a reporter asked a really stupid question of Alita regarding whether or not she had a new boyfriend. She went off on him and threatened to carve his cyber optic out. And that I had actually be something that Jason recalled from a previous video that Loretta had pushed on him.
That is our queen.
Yeah.
Which is one of the things that helped inform Jason's opinion of her as basically a violent psychopath before he actually got to know her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that part in your story where he finally meets her and she turns out to be. Yeah, he freaks out. He's, oh my God, this is a killer. This is the killer I've been dreading.
Is that killing machine doing here?
Yeah, and then he finds out, just in normal circumstance, she's a really sweet, girl. She's really nice. And cares
nothing
about
like
her
what he
family.
thought she would be. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And then of course they start developing a friendship. So to the point where he actually goes to a motorball game, and he actually.
Well, the first motorball game he goes to, it's because he's in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
He's got one arm. He's missing his 3 other limbs, and Ito can't leave him in the clinic. And Gerhard came down sick, so she wasn't able to be there to watch him or take care of him. So he kind of had to accompany his doctor, as his doctor went to be the tuner for Alita's team.
Yeah. But
so it was kind of forced.
Yeah, he was forced on the first one, but the second one, he kind of, he probably was apprehensive, but he kind of wanted to do it a little bit too, didn't he?
He was a little bit more willing to. There is a later chapter where he actually accompanies Gerhard into the stands to another one of Alita's games.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he still doesn't have a high opinion of Motorball, but he's more willing to be there to sort of, support somebody he cares about.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I highly recommend Lee's fanfic, you guys. It's really good. It's and it's got some funny scenes in there where I think there was one time they were going out to the Badlands on the truck, and Jason was whining or pissing and moaning about something and feeling sorry for himself, and Alita throws a protein bar at him.
Oh no, that's when they finally got out to the circle of trees.
Yeah.
Jason is ruminating on the fact that a decision he made caused him to be on the road when that anomaly hit.
Mm-hmm.
And he felt that he was, a stupid mistake on his part caused him to lose his family and everything.
Yeah.
Well, she realized that he was basically beating himself up over something he had no real control over, so she was trying to, shake him out of it.
Yeah. That's funny. It wasn't a protein. What was it? It wasn't a protein.
It was
bar,
a snack
was it?
bar of some
Yeah,
kind.
snack bar. Yeah, and she just threw it at him.
Mm-hmm.
I read that and I said, "Oh yeah, they're becoming friends." It's kind of a funny little scene, So, and I can picture her, even the Alita in the movies. I could picture her doing that,
Yeah,
for sure. So, you guys want to talk about the Zot?
Sure.
Best arc of the manga.
Yeah, it's a pretty long part of the manga, but yeah, yeah. The last order is where it's in. So, yeah, I like that last fight, that Alita has with Toji, I guess. And, of course, Matu's boyfriend, Zex, is fighting Zeka.
And he dies. No, he doesn't die.
No, he almost does, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, he almost does. And he says, "I am not giving up." He comes back out of what was it, a lake or something he was in, wasn't it? Or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't remember. Yeah, for sure. And then, of course, Zazie was fighting that Rakan.
Freak.
The freak, yeah.
Princess Rakan.
Yeah, he dispenses of him in a most unpleasant way.
Yeah.
And the way she finished him was so satisfying, and I'm like, oh, I like that a lot. That's rough. That's what he deserved.
Yes.
Yeah, that guy was a real creep. Jeez.
Yeah, I just really didn't like him.
I thought it was funny, and his story
he was an interesting
is
character,
very sad.
yeah, but
his story is very sad when you think about it. Like, of course, everything he did was wrong, and he was a creep and whatever, but it was not 100% his fault, and it clearly wasn't himself, and that was sad. What happened was sad. It was a tragic character in a way, and I think that his story was cool. It was sad. The way he became, like, he was kind of course, like, tragic, but he got what he deserved in the end, and it was just well done. Like, top-notch character writing.
Yes. Yeah, I like the Zot, though. It's in some ways it's kind of like Motorball in that it's a competition, obviously. Yeah. And it's at that point too, and I think the people in Iron City realize that that's Alita up there fighting for them, because I think one of the things that was going to come out of that is if a team from Iron City didn't win, they were going to dispose of it, weren't they, or something like that?
There was some kind of purge that was going to happen. And Body was going to dispense with, I think, both Tefari's and the scrapyard. Because I think they had, I can't remember exactly what, but I think it was something about they had served their purpose or something like that.
Yeah.
And were no longer needed, so they were just going to wipe them off the face of the planet. But Alita was fighting to gain them some sort of statehood within the laws that the orbital communities had.
Yeah.
And it would have protected the scrapyard and Tefari's from ever being interfered with in that way, because it would have elevated them to nation status on a level with the other communities out there.
Yes. Yeah, and then the Alita army really grew then, didn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember there was actually a scene where they showed a bunch of stands of all these people viewing what was going on up there with the Zot. One of the people that was there that I remember was Umba, the mechanic that had worked on Alita when she was doing Motorball.
Yeah.
So there was quite a few people, I think, that were in the stands that were watching what was happening.
Yeah. Yeah, they were watching it as though their lives depended on it,
Yeah.
which they did.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah, I think in terms of physical traits and characteristics, Alita, now we've said this on many streams, and we've even had some streams talking about her abilities, like being superhuman or superhero level abilities. Now, as we always say, she's not a superhero. You know,
No.
she does have those abilities, though. I mean, you know, she's, you know,
I would use the term superhuman because she is
Yes.
well above human capability.
Yeah, that's right. Very much above human capability.
Especially
We've even
with
had
the Imaginos bodies. Good Lord.
Oh Lord, yes, she is.
Yeah, I have a feeling that Kishiro might have made a mistake with that, which is why he cut the power level way back down again when he did when he did Martian Chronicles.
Yeah, volume 7, I think it was. Yeah, he cut her way back. I think it was Venus captured her somehow and put her in another body or something like that. I
Something happened to it, yeah. But yeah, it was. I could not see how he was going to continue the story with her in that body with that kind of power level in it.
Yeah,
It's
that's
like,
right.
good Lord, what is she going to go up against?
Yeah. Yeah, that's right, Smendrick. That link I put in there doesn't lead to Maxie's fanfic. I'll have to go find that, and then.
Well, still, an interview with Kishiro is, might be interesting reading.
It's not a bad interview. Yeah, that's for sure. So, but yeah, I think Alita. We've had streams where we've even discussed whether we think Alita is a metahuman, and it depends on your take, but certainly is a superhuman. That's for sure. And I would maintain she is a metahuman because the word meta means beyond, and she is definitely beyond human, particularly in that Imaginos body.
Yeah, I was going to say, Badman says we don't know her power level was cut back. It actually is stated in Martian Chronicles. She has lost a great deal of the capability she had. Yeah. Something happened on Venus during a 3-year period that resulted in her losing almost all of the power she had gained in the Imaginos body.
Yeah. She was still pretty badass after that.
Oh, yeah, she was still very capable.
Yeah, that's for sure. But we've had those discussions of whether or not she's a metahuman or not. I've always maintained that she was, because
I just call her a cyborg because
Yeah, she is.
She is a very specific kind of enhanced human, a cyborg.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like the cyborg in the DCU. I mean, he's considered a metahuman by the DC fans. And so,
well, they have to use that term too because they've got all of the superhero types in there. People with mutations, outer space aliens, people with psychic abilities, all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, I think the Creek thinks his niece is a metahuman, so that's for sure. In the Imaginos body, I think in the Berserker body, she's more of an enhanced human, maybe superhuman in that too, because she does have strength beyond humans. But I think the Imaginos body is kind of an OP type thing.
Very.
So, yes. So anyway,
I mean that put her up in I think as you called her a demigod.
Yes. Okay, Badman says that the only thing that he thought that wasn't her power level that was reduced, it was her regenerative ability or capability.
Well, if her power level hadn't been affected, there's nothing on Mars that can stand up to her.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing on Mars can stand up to her if her power level hasn't been affected.
Yeah.
Which means that there are no stakes and she is under no threat.
Yeah. Well, we had that one stream where we put her up against, we've had a couple of streams or even 3 streams where we put her up against some of the baddies in the, in the comic book world, like we put her up against Thanos, and in the Imaginos body, she's going to tear Thanos a new one. He's not going to stand up to her in the Imaginos body.
Well, in the Imaginos body, she can move near light speed.
Yeah, I mean, it's just he's not going to be able to cope with that.
She has the ability to shapeshift and just about anything she wants. That combined with her ability, she could move throughout the solar system without a spaceship.
Yeah. So that's Thanos can't do that. He has to have either that portal, that I guess the space stone, I guess, for him to go, through portals, or a spacecraft himself, so he can't do that. And even with Darkseid, Darkseid's a little different, but we thought she still had a better than average chance of beating Darkseid's avatar, not if anybody's familiar with the DC universe, Darkseid is really a trans-dimensional being that lives outside of all of the reality universes. What you see in the comic books is his avatars, and they are pretty potent too. They're about like Thanos is, but against those avatars, she's probably going to beat them as well, And of course, we had another one where we had her up against Steppenwolf, and she easily destroys him. I mean, he's just not anywhere near capable of fighting her, because I believe she would take him even in a berserker body, because she can move like near the speed of sound, or 6 times the speed of sound. So that's going to be in the manga. The manga. Yeah, that's right, Bad Man. That was in that little side. I remember Den, on one of Den's old streams, we had that discussion. That was in one of those extra stories. I guess it was one of those, it wasn't in the what you would call canon. It wasn't part of the, I guess, the original manga, the timeline or whatever, but it was in one of those little side stories where she was running through, I don't know if it was a spacecraft or what it was, but it was one where the objects she was approaching were blue shifted, and the objects that she was running away from or was receding from or were red shifted. And the only way that can happen is if you're running at relativistic speed, and it would have to be more than 10% the speed of light too, for it to be for the shift to be prominent. Yeah, she may have been slower in the last order, perhaps, but I think in that Imaginos 2.1 body, maybe I don't think she does move slower, but yeah, you're right. I'm not sure. There's nothing in the last order that measures her speed, so we don't really have an absolute on that one. Just kind of our conjecture, I guess, on that one. So I think this did happen, Saiyan Jedi 9977. There is, or at least there's some skins on some characters I saw in Cyberpunk 2077 of Alita.
Yeah, there's been, I think, a couple of mods that somebody might have done.
think so, yeah, where they put Alita in there. And I think you can play the game with that character too, but I haven't seen any more than that. So, yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was in the original end of the original series. Yeah, that's right, before Last Order. Yeah, so I think still in the Imaginos body though, Bad Man. If I'm not incorrect, I mean, if I was correct. So maybe that's where Kishiro started thinking about what he was going to do for the Last Order, and he put her in that Imaginos body. That what you see, the image on the right there, the top image, that is the Imaginos 1.0 body. That's the first Imaginos body she gets. And of course, the image below her, that one is her in the Berserker body in the movie. So Matu, what do you think?
I think you said it all. No.
Well, do you think maybe in the sequel that Hugo should get resurrected?
No.
Yeah, I agree. No. That guy needs to stay, he needs to stay dead.
I mean, that would be completely against Alita's development as a character. I mean, she becomes the way she is because of all the people she met, like dying, betraying, or living, or teaching her stuff. Like, that's part of her upbringing as a character and a warrior. That would go completely against everything.
Well, it would definitely go against the manga, wouldn't it? If he was resurrected, I would be okay with some kind of dream sequences or flashbacks to Hugo. I'd be all right with that. Where she remembers him and stuff like that in a dream or whatever, I wouldn't have a problem with that. But he doesn't need to be, part of the timeline, I think. I know Cameron had written an alternate ending to where Alita does rescue Hugo. He doesn't, in other words, he doesn't fall, but they elected not to use that because it was so against the manga,
Yeah. I mean, when you're adapting a manga, why even, like, I agree that sometimes it's okay to alter it a little bit in order to work as a movie, and because maybe there's some other thing you want to make work, and that's fine. But producers and movie companies adapting an already existing book or manga or anything into a movie and changing it completely, like, I disagree with that. Why don't you then, if you change it completely and if you change the points, the end, everything, why don't you make something fully original then, instead of butchering something that already exists?
Yes. Yeah, that's right. Well, I really want them in the sequels. I want them to really be faithful. They don't have to follow the manga exactly. I mean, certainly, because they didn't do that in the movie, did they? But it was still faithful to the manga, I think.
You can never completely follow a manga, especially because it's two very different kind of media and culture. I had this discussion with a friend, like I think it was yesterday. We were talking about how arts and media should not have culture or languages barrier or anything. And I'm like, maybe, but it does. This is why, for example, dubbing, because we were on the topic of dubs. This is why French dubs on anime generally don't work, or actually used to not work at all, because due to our culture and the way we act in movies and such, our way of talking is completely opposed to how it is in anime or mostly Asian movie. They have an extremely expressive way of acting things. And in France, we don't. We are often seen as dull because we actually act extremely natural. The way we're going to act in a movie is the exact way we're going to act in real life, for example. So something culturally like a manga, like Alita, but a manga made at first for a Japanese audience by a Japanese is it's obviously influenced by the Japanese cultures and jokes and way of talking. So of course it can never be 100% faithful when it's adapted to a Western movie, because it's different way of doing, and even like the transition between a manga or a book to a movie, it's complicated and different. So it's never going to be 100% the same, of course, but it still has to follow the main line and the main events. You just have to translate it properly, which I think the first movie did fairly well, but it's never going to be the same. But still, you should not change it entirely.
Well, Matt, too, when you saw Alita Battle Angel, did you see a French dubbed version of it, or did you see it in English?
No, I saw it in early access. I don't know how you say in English, but basically I saw it before they released it in theater, because at the time I still was with my ex, who was very, 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 very into Gundam. And we booked special tickets to go to see it in 3D in, like, this huge this huge theater rooms with all the lights effect and everything, like not exactly the 4D version, but something called ice version. I don't know if it exists in USA. And we saw it like this, and of course we saw it in English because the French one was not released yet. And I never saw it in French. I always saw it in English. Always.
What?
But the French dub is okay, apparently. I only seen extract and I was like, oh yeah, no, it fits, it's okay. Where when it comes to dubbing blockbusters and big movies, honestly, we're not bad. But I am one of this person, like, when I can, especially when it's in English, I'm going to watch it in English, because I just think that when it comes to translations, there are some things that are lost. Some things that are going to be said in English in a certain way, certain jokes, certain meaning and such, that has to be translated in French for us to understand, for it to match like the lip sync, for it to match the cultures, the jokes, because we have two very different cultures. And I think that sometimes some elements are lost in translation, basically. So I always try to view things in the original version, always, almost always, especially when it's English.
Okay. Well, your English is certainly good enough to see it in English. That's for sure. So
I mean, it has subtitles, of course. I can watch things without subtitles when it comes to cartoons because they articulate very well and speak slowly. When it comes to series and movie, I tend to put on subtitles because sometimes like my mind is not going fast enough to completely understand everything, and they're going to not articulate and speak like more fast. So I will need subtitles. I could do without, but I'm lazy, so I usually do with.
okay. Yeah, personally, I know with when you were speaking about dubbing, I prefer dubs over subs because
There
with
are
subs,
so many people who told me that, and actually, most of the people who prefer dubs over subs are American, because I can tell you, French people, especially when it comes to anime, we prefer subs over dubs.
Okay.
Because as I said, when it comes to language and expressiveness and jokes, our language does not match the way of talking in anime.
Yeah.
For more serious anime, like of course I always take this example, like Cyberpunk Edgeners, that has an extremely more not dull, but like more realistic and more, less exaggerated way of acting. The French dubs and all the dubbing actors were amazing. The French dubs works really well, and I've been surprised. And I think it is one of the only anime I've watched. I also watch the dubs in different languages. That's to say how good it was. But for more classic animes like Soul Eater or Jujutsu Kaisen or things like this, I personally do think French dubs are, excuse me for the term YouTube, but are shit. Like really, it doesn't match.
Yeah.
Like we have very talented voice actors. For example, they dub really well in games and in shows and in movies. But when it comes to certain cartoons and anime, it just doesn't work. And apparently in English, you guys don't have this issue, because I've seen some extract of, for example, My Hero Academia or more popular anime in English dub, and your guys' dubs are actually rather decent. You are actually rather decent at dubbing, which French people don't have the chance to be good at.
Well, my problem,
of course, with exception, but yeah, sorry.
Yeah, well, my problem with subs is that when you have to read, they'll have like a lot of text. You got to read it to understand the story.
Training.
And I understand, but what I'm saying is you have to read. I have to read it, and I miss a lot of the action that's on the.
That's a problem I have when my eyes are glued to the subtitles.
Yeah,
I end up finding that I'm missing quite a bit of the action or details of what's going on.
That's trading. I've been watching.
It is.
I've been watching subs since I'm like 12 or 13. So at the beginning, when you're not like quote unquote trained, you will read words by words. But when I watch an anime, sometimes I just have to glance really quickly at the sub, and I know exactly what they're saying. And your ear is also going to be trained to the Japanese intonation and such. And sometimes I don't even have to read the sub when I watch to understand what they're saying, because I watch so many animes. There are some words I recognize, some intonation I recognize. So just all that and a small glance at the subs, and it's okay, and I understand everything. But because I'm really used to do that. When you're not used to, of course, it takes longer. I've got a ton of friends who watch only dubs and who struggle with subs, and it's okay, it's valid. But as I said, I've been watching subs ever since I was 13, so I'm extremely used to it.
Well, I've been doing it for 30 years. I still haven't gotten used to it.
Yeah, and I guess I'm not trainable, I guess.
I mean, maybe it depends. It also depends from people. Maybe I'm just a fast reader. I'm the kind of person who is going to read a book extremely fastly because I won't read every word, but I will read the page globally, and my eyes are going to catch the main stuff, the main meaning, and it's okay. Sometimes I do miss information, but most of the time it works.
Well, that's the thing. I don't have a problem reading it. I read it just fine. It's just,
yeah.
it's always been distracting for me. I can't, what's that word? I can't multitask very well between trying to focus
I
at the
think that's
bottom
a
of the screen.
Lee, I
and
think
just,
that's a
try
male
to-
thing. I think, Lee.
Yeah.
No, it's not a male thing. I got male friends who can do it, and I got female friends who can't do it. Like, no, I think it just depends from people. Maybe I'm just lucky about that. Either I really am a nerd with no life that got so used to it because she had nothing else to do because she has no friends that know I'm good at it.
Anyway, before we keep going, I want to welcome Channel Does Not Exist. How's it going, Channel?
Hi, finals week is going.
Oh, nice. How are you doing on that?
I mean, it's not a disaster, but it's not great either.
Oh gosh. Well, you're probably going to do fine. You know, I think.
I hope so.
I think you're pretty smart, so I think you can handle it.
My chemistry professor would not agree.
Oh, is that right? Well, like I say, Channel,
Might be a psychopath.
It's been so long since I took chemistry in college. I'd offer to help, but I would be no help. I'd be more harm than help, I think, if I to do that. Yeah, I guess Badman. Well, I guess this speaks to the point. Well, he's also referencing the game there too. But you know, one other thing I guess some folks in the Western world might struggle with if they are not used to it is when you read the manga, whether it's the Viz version or it's the box set version. You don't, you know, in English we read, you know, we flip the pages from right to left, and we read from left to right and stuff like this, you know. But in the manga, you got to start what looks like the back of the book and flip from left to right, you know, and read from right to left. So I remember Dizzy one time was on one of the stream, Dizzy B, and he said he started reading the manga and he said he couldn't make any sense out of it. And that's because he was reading it like like you would an English book, you know. It was pretty funny, I thought, you know. Of course, we said, well, you know, you got to read it, you know, from right to left, from the back first, you know. He said, oh, that's why I couldn't understand it. So anyway, that was pretty funny. So how are things in Poland, Channel?
I don't know what to say about that.
There's the same old stuff, I guess, huh? Okay, guys. Well, anyway, I think we hit this pretty hard, I think. I know this has been a pretty short stream so far. Is there anything anybody wants to bring up that you'd want to talk about Alita, you know, that maybe we haven't covered? Anybody on the panel? That includes you too, Channel. So,
I mean, the chat, what question do you want me to answer, since I'm not just gonna be going over all of them?
Yeah. Anything else? I mean,
Since it's the chat stream,
or even any of the stuff that we've kind of covered already. Yeah. That you see on the screen right there. Because I know you're big into the manga as well, aren't you?
yeah.
Okay. Well, which do you prefer? You prefer the Mars Chronicles, the original manga, or the Last Order?
Mars Chronicles, I really like only the Baron Master arc. The newest one I didn't even really read because it's just Erica. Baby Yoko barely appears in it. I did flip through it and read the Baby Yoko parts. Yeah. But Erica is she's an amazing side character, but she can't pull being the protagonist for that long on just being an evil anime child. And even Erica is there less. And if it's just characters that I've never seen before, I have lost the ability to get invested in them. So I just don't read that. Last Order is good. It is good. Some parts of it are amazing, and some part of it make you question what was Hishiro smoking. And it took me a third. I'm not sure if the writing is that weird or if I'm just that stupid, but it took me a third reading to realize what the hell was going on, what the plot was. And the first manga is the most straightforward, and the one where you can just read and you know what's going on. And also where a lot of the some of the best moments come from either the original series or early Last Order.
Oh, yeah.
Hard to say which is my favorite, but
yeah, that's the way I am.
I have favorite arcs, but not like an entire series that I can say it's my favorite.
Yeah.
Unpopular opinion, I was never really interested in Motorball. I think it dragged on a little too long. I get that some people. I don't think it should be shortened because I know a lot of people love it, and fandom does usually work on a majority vote. But personally, it's just not that. The shots of Motorballers, the game itself, the arc with Joshua Gunn was interesting, but the game itself, when it's just drawings, I didn't get the sense of motion. I just got very confused about what's going on because it's beautiful perspective shots, but I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, in terms of the Motorball arc, to me, it's very similar to that movie Rollerball in some ways. So I guess, and it's also kind of like that roller derby that we have over here in the States. It's not that.
Well, from what I understand, Rollerball was a big. Well, shoot, I can't remember the word now.
Possible influence or something.
Big influence on creating it.
Yeah, I think probably. There's a lot of similarities, obviously. I mean, other than the fact that Rollerball is being played by Meat Boys and Motorball is being played by cyborgs. So,
we don't have total replacement cyborgs now, so you can't have a sport made specifically for them.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Rollerball is in the near future, so it's not. It's who knows how many years from now. You looked at, if you saw the movie was shot in the 70s and you saw some of the technology, you'd say, oh my gosh, that was back in the 90s, something like that, Well,
I remember there was a scene where a bunch of rich people were playing around with a energy weapon of some sort, and they set a tree on fire.
Yeah, they set
so like the cop who sat on his gun with the rifle pointing at his ass. Just no matter the time period, there will be stupid people.
Mm.
It's just that the stupid people who
well, I thought Motorball
get in possession of weapons are both more dangerous and funnier.
Well, they were getting a big kick out of it because I think they were high,
they're like high or drunk or something like that.
High or drunk, on drugs or alcohol or whatever. But I think Motorball to me was, I recognized a lot of the stuff immediately, even though the track's different. And we had a stream on Radio Chaos about this, as a matter of fact. About the similarities in it. So, but yeah, I really like the Motorball arc. I tend to like the Zot better, and maybe it's because Alita's in that OP body, and she definitely, it comes back. She's in that 2.1 body. She's got a tail, a cat tail, Cat Lita, so I kind of like that tail, So, and she's a really seriously OP when she gets in that Imagino's 2.1 body. I mean, she's she's like a goddess in that body. So yeah, go ahead, Channel.
I forgot I didn't properly answer the question. My favorite is the last part of the first series, like the last 3 volumes or so.
Oh, you mean of the Last Order, you mean?
Of the original series.
Oh, the original series.
No, of the original series. If I had to pick.
Yeah, I guess they got a lot of the movie from that too, and that and the anime, I guess, was where they kind of.
No, that's not in the movie though.
From the original, well, what they did pick up. How many volumes out of the manga did they pick up? It was like I thought it was 3, wasn't it?
I think it was about the first 3, maybe 4. It wasn't many.
Yeah, definitely the first because Makaku / Groishka. Definitely the second because Yugo. And third and fourth is the motorball arc, which it exists there, but they didn't really delve into it. And the third and fourth volume could probably just be lumped together.
Yeah.
Because the story follows through, and because the first and second are pretty episodic, the fifth can also.
I think when they saw
it's also a bit of a standalone because there's the big time skip both after and before it, and third and fourth kind of blend into each other.
Yeah, I think when they saw the manga, you know, when Cameron and I guess Rodriguez got a hold of it, they thought, oh, we absolutely have to have the motorball arc in there or part of it. We got to put motorball in the movie, and I'm glad they did actually, because in the anime they don't have any motorball in the anime, so it's I think that last scene where they tied that balloon to, what was it, Hugo's arm or something, one of his arms, something like that.
It was the arm that Alita was left holding after he fell to his death.
Yeah,
I think I'm with Channel 2 on I think motorball translates better to a motion picture. It didn't do very well for me either on the manga. I mean, it was okay. I liked it well enough, but
it's pretty shots, but it's hard to figure out what's going on in them.
In the movie?
No, in the
manga.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Well, I didn't have any trouble. Well, maybe because I saw the movie first, so I didn't have any trouble.
I guess I had a different problem as well. It wasn't that I had a problem following what was going on. It's just it didn't really pop off the page as well as it probably was intended to. It worked a lot better as a movie, I think. Much better.
Also, when it comes to weird action, if it's a fight scene or a normal or Alita working out or whatever, you can usually orient the weird angles based on the environment.
Yeah.
But when they're moving, and if they're in the same environment, then even if the environment is weird, like the ships in Last Order, then you can still somehow get a picture of what it looks like, specifically if it's simple, and all the hallways or rooms that's happening in Last Order where there's a fight are relatively simple. So you can picture what they look like, and all the weird angles would make sense. If it's in a specific spot, then even if it's complex, you still get enough angle. You can still piece it together from the angles. But their motorball scenes are not in the same spot. It's not a natural configuration. It's not simple. It's a constantly moving track, and it's from weird angles. So I have zero idea how to position it, where anyone is relevant to anyone else, how fast is anything supposed to be moving. It just that's
okay.
And the reason the anime didn't have motorball in it is because they were directly adapting more directly than the movie adapting what they were seeing on the specific volume, but the movie took because more of the manga was out, took more of a general approach, and they were adapting specific from the manga, so they had the Colosseum, which the movie cut out completely.
Well, that character Zariki that was in the motorball match in the movie, he was actually in the Colosseum in the manga. So he wasn't a motorball player that I remember. Am I wrong about that, you guys? Matu or Lee or Channel?
I remember Kanuba was a gladiator of some sort in the manga, I think.
Yeah, I think Zariki was as well. So anyway,
I think it was Kanuba that had his body stolen by Makaku.
Yes. He got his body stolen, his brain eaten.
I think so too.
Yeah, I think we've had discussions whether the sequels ought to be R-rated or not. I think if they put some of that stuff in like that in the sequels, that they're going to lose a lot of the audience because some of it's just way too dark, and I think they wouldn't be able to put that in the sequel. I think. Yeah, that's maybe. Right, Bad Man. Thanks for that, Bad Man. I kind of remembered Zariki being in the Colosseum, so.
Well, that's the thing. A lot of the fandom for Alita, I think, is already fairly accustomed to the fact that a lot of the storyline is, fairly dark anyway. So
yeah,
I'm not sure they would lose that many people.
Yeah, I think though they would expand their audience though if they kept it PG. I think PG-13.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, because they would pull some of the folks that are not. And I think if like I say, if they stay faithful to the manga, they don't have to make it exact. They stay faithful to the manga, then I think they'll not only not lose us, they will gain others. So I think that's kind of
well. The first movie has definitely gained Kashiro's stamp of approval. He said that they did very good at keeping the spirit of the story intact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Bad Man. I guess they could shoot the movie R-rated, I guess, but I think we talked about this in a couple of streams on Radio Chaos. I think when we had Lita Kalogridis on and when we had El Lamont on, I think what both of them said was, with if it's PG-13, they will, I guess, appeal, to a wider audience, I think. And, I think that's why they did that. I mean, certainly if it was R-rated, I'd watch it. That's for sure. It wouldn't bother me because I mean, having read the manga now, I can handle this, but I think some folks might find it a little too extreme, I think. Anyway, I don't know, What is this here? I hope Disney does not. I agree with that. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, I think everybody on this stream knows my political proclivities, but I agree. They need to keep politics out of the movie. They need to make the movie about story and not message. That's what it's
kind of hard to it's kind of hard to have a story not completely stay out of politics when one of the major plot points is a power in the sky oppressing a group on the ground for 200 years, and also is it moral to kill everyone to shoot the city out of the sky? And later in Last Order we have an actual dictatorship. It's kind of hard to have a story including a dictatorship and not get political.
Well, I think specifically politics outside of the universe.
Well,
what I think real world politics into it.
Yeah, I don't think they need to do that. And my thing is too, it's okay for them to have a kind of a message in a movie, but it can't be the main thing of the movie. The movie's got to be about the story. And the message is just kind of like a underlying, foundation or maybe subplot or whatever they have in it, where you can see it, kind of like they used to do in the old Star Trek series.
That's what I was just thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah. that they had, it was all about the story, but they had some, messages.
The story was well written enough that you would get the message if you stopped to think about it.
Yes.
It wasn't preachy. It was just, there was this underlying, current under the story that you would catch if you thought about it.
And I think some movies get into trouble, or some studios get into trouble when they make the movie all about the message.
Yeah. It becomes heavy-handed and just sort of.
Yeah, they don't. And yes, Smendrick, we do need a director's cut from Robert Rodriguez. We definitely do. That would be cool. As a matter of fact, what I think they'll do when they do green light the sequel, before they release Alita 2, they will probably re-release Alita 1, but it'll have some of those deleted scenes in it that I think there's a video on YouTube you can go look at. I think Jack Jarambo has on one of his videos about some of the deleted scenes, if anybody wants to go check that out. But he has several of them in there. But, in the original movie, they had to cut them out because it was like, it was running like to 2 hours and 30 minutes. And Fox said, no, we don't want that. You got to cut that out, And I think what Rodriguez will do is he will probably add some of that stuff back in to kind of give Alita, because there were kind of some plot holes in it from place to place. Like, for instance, when Hugo told Alita that Vector wanted her to try out for the second league. Okay, well, that's great. And then you see, like, almost the next shot, she is in the locker room, getting ready to go to what she's going to think is a tryout. Really turns out to be murder ball, but she thinks she's going to try out. Well, in the I guess in the novelization, there's at least a 3 weeks, if not 2 months, time in there that Hugo is training her, on that. So, I think that kind of stuff I think he would put in there. And there was one scene, it was right out of that novelization, to where, you know, Kean Johnson was on his back and Rosa was straddling him with her fists, like kind of like it was in the novelization, like that, looking down, and he says, anything come back? That was right out of the novelization, you know, because she, as you remember, when she would get into these situations where she would fight, she would kind of remember stuff.
Yeah, combat would bring back some of her memory.
Yes, Bad Man. Hugo does know something about Motorball. I mean, in the manga, I don't think he does that.
Yeah,
much,
I think in
probably.
the manga he wasn't actually any kind of fan.
Yeah, and definitely, yeah, he's not a fighter, Hugo. I mean, he knows how to survive, you know, in Iron City and all that stuff. But I think he's kind of a wimp myself. But anyway, yeah, he doesn't. But yeah, Hugo doesn't know anything about Motorball in the manga. In the novelization and in the movie, certainly he does.
Yeah, he knows quite a bit.
Yeah, so that was one area where they diverted from the manga a little bit, but that was okay, you know, because really Hugo's a support character anyway. He's not a primary character. Well, he's a primary character, but he's not the titular character. Of course, Alita is, you know. So
well, I think it was mainly whether or not he was connected to Motorball didn't affect his contribution to the story.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Okay, guys. Anything else y'all want to talk about?
No.
Channel, how about you?
No idea what's supposed to be talked about.
Lee, you got anything you want to add?
Not really. But I was just going to say, I don't think anybody on the ground knows anything about Zalem and his defenses. In fact, I think a lot of people who live on Zalem don't know much about his defenses either.
Probably.
Unless they're high up in the power structure.
Well, I do think that some of the folks in, I guess it was in the anime, they brought this up. Hugo's brother, you know, he tried to build that machine or whatever, that balloon or whatever, tried to go up there, and he got shot down. And in the novelization, they talk about anything that flies gets shot down by Zalem's defenses, and the Centurions shoot them down, you know. Yeah. That's about I guess the breadth of what they know about the defenses. They don't know anything about the details, you know, of how Zalem protects itself, you know.
Low-level stuff like gun emplacements and things. They probably got, you know, small anti-air defenses and whatnot.
Yeah.
But anything like the energy shielding or the, I guess in the manga it was the scalar energy weapons.
Yes.
They probably wouldn't know anything about.
Well, you remember in the manga, they had that big cannon that was mounted on that rail car. They thought they were going to shoot Zalem, and you know, maybe.
And that was the energy shield that Tefari's had.
Yes.
So they must have not known about the energy shield.
No, it was completely.
Then again, Zalem had to ask. Was it Keteris or Makizek? I don't remember, but they couldn't. Zalem's defense agency couldn't just activate it willy-nilly. So if it's, assuming it's pretty much never gets used, so they wouldn't have a way to have known about it.
Yeah. Well, they certainly found out about it when they shot that cannon at it and nothing happened. They didn't destroy anything, did they?
Yep.
So they figured it out. At that point, they knew that their weapon was useless against it, you know, but anyway. Okay, guys, I guess I can't think of anything either. Of course, I could ramble on, but it would probably be off topic here. So
I was going to say, it's climbing the tube. Yeah, it would be fairly obvious. They would have had to have some kind of defense to keep people from doing that.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did see that. Yeah, in the movie, the defense rings coming down. You know, probably the people in Zalem, even the people in Iron City knew about the defense tubes. I mean, the defense.
Well, that's
rings,
the thing. In the manga, I think it was, the defense rings were there to keep vermin off the tubes, and then in the movie they made it part of the military defense system to keep. Yeah, that's right.
Keep the out.
And
I was confused when I said vermin. Did did they mean literal vermin, like
literal vermin,
small
like rats
animals,
and
or did
things.
they
Rats.
mean I was thinking, did they mean literal small animals, or did they mean people that they hate so much they're calling them vermin?
Yes.
No, yeah. Not, well,
Rats
probably,
and people.
Rats and people, yeah. Yeah, how
So
do you
if
get
you're
it?
not already in Zalem, you're probably not supposed to be in Zalem.
That's
Yep.
right. Well, you can't get in Zalem if you're not in Zalem, so you can't get in there.
But also defending against small things like rats would be a good idea too, because rats, they'll get into everything if you don't have some way of keeping them out of an area.
Yeah, that's right.
And the Badman wrote, GIB had to request access from Melchizedek.
Yeah.
Dziękujemy.
Yeah.
Sorry, thank you.
Yep.
Oops.
Oh, that was a cute little tune. Yeah, better backstories. Yes, Mendrick, I think that would be better handled in series as opposed to a sequel, because a movie, you don't have a lot of time, and you got to stick with the main timeline.
That's the thing. A director's cut of the first movie that had a little bit more development between
I'm sorry, that was my
Hugo
phone
and Alita,
alarm.
Yeah,
and Gerhard and Ito.
Yeah.
So you'll get a little bit more development of their relationships.
Yeah, you could do that in a director's cut for sure. But I think if they were going to focus on the sequel, the plot, that kind of thing.
Well, if they made the sequel longer, they might be able to add allocate at least 5 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, they could probably do that. But if they wanted to get into any real detail, though, they're going to have to, maybe they could do some series, before the movie came out, just to give people context, Yes, the citizens of the scrapyard were considered vermin by those Zalemites. That's for sure. Yeah, they were. Yeah, more of a history of Iron City and Zalem. Matter of fact, there's a prequel novel you could go read. I think it's called Iron City, isn't it? Something like that. So,
I keep meaning to get it, but I never got around to it. Yeah,
I've never gotten it either. But yeah, I think that would also be something that would have to be a series, because if in the prequels, particularly History of Iron City, certainly Alita's not in there. Now she would be in there during the Great War, because she, with the they attacked Earth, and
she was involved in the final assault.
Yeah, so she would be part of that, but after that, no, you wouldn't see much of her. So I'm not sure how successful that would be for getting, I guess you would say, butts and seats in the theater. So I think they would probably make that a series. They could even animate it. That'd be all right with me,
Yeah.
Yes, we
Some
should.
things look cooler when animated.
Yes, Mendrick, we should have a 3-hour movie. That's what the Creek wants, for sure.
You know what I think would work so much? If instead of movies, we had a series. I mean, sometimes big series like Game of Thrones or stuff like this still have budget, and you can tell so much more in series than in movies, because you would have tens and tens of hours of Alita content. A series would work well, I think. I mean, series are basically mini movies, like actual movies. They're sometimes episodes last more than 1 hour, so
yeah,
it would be a series could work.
I think so. Kind of a immersive Alita game. Yeah, that would be kind of cool.
Yeah, fully immersive virtual reality sort of experience.
Yeah, that would be neat.
Plus, with the series, if you have half-an-hour episodes, then you can get away with a filler episode and stuff in or having an episode that's half filler, where you can put in all the funny moments from the manga that wouldn't really fit the tone anywhere else. And you can get away with that in the series. That, oh, by the way, episode 12 isn't really necessary for the plot, but budget for that. But if you made a movie and everything is super thematic and super plot focused, and oh my gosh, look at all the cyborgs fighting, and we're keeping a tone, and suddenly one of the movies is 50% LOL, that would not go down well. But you can do that with a series, but not with a movie.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's true. You don't want to make a mistake, kind of like they tried to do a little bit with that movie Green Lantern. They well, that movie had several issues. I mean, I enjoyed the movie, but I think it had some problems in it. But I mean, it's like that when folks they try to make a DC movie more like a Marvel movie that has that kind of humor in it, doesn't work because the fans don't want it. And when they start doing that stuff, they're gonna lose a good number of fans because
the different fandoms are gonna have different expectations.
Yeah, that's right. And I think with the Alita Army or just the Alita fandom at large, I think we're not, those of us that have read the manga, there may be a little humorous thing here and there, but you can't do it like you do a Thor movie. You can't do it. It's not going to work, So anyway, that's my opinion anyhow. So. All right, guys. Well, anyway, I think we kind of beat this one up pretty good. Unless y'all got any other thoughts, or there's another. Let's see, what do we have been bad for 3-hour movies? Chocolate and oranges. Okay. I would definitely go for 3-hour movie. That's what I kind of want anyway. I think if they try to put 2 arcs in a 2-hour movie, that's going to leave out too much stuff.
Yeah, about 3 hours, 2.5 hours at least.
Yeah, it's got to be
3 hours would be preferable.
Yeah, I think so. 2.5 hours would be borderline. So, okay. So anyway, did we miss anything, you guys?
I don't think so.
Yeah, nothing I could think of.
Yeah. Well, you see there in that middle image, Alita does love her Uncle Creek.
Yep.
Especially now he's got 100,000 subscribers to kind of push her out to the world.
There you go.
So there you have it. So anyway, and of course this is our queen Rosa, and she is #1 in the Creeks book in terms of being an actress. She's just a superb actor. I will say this too. I saw something alarming on Twitter, which is not unusual, but in this case, I saw something about how maybe Marvel was going to cut her character out of Captain America 4. Damn it, I was kind of looking forward to seeing that with her in it. She was going to play that character Diamondback, which they said was called Rattlesnake, but it's Diamondback, I think. So. But she would have been great in that, but they...
Well, that's assuming that that's not a rumor. I mean, if it's a rumor, that could very likely just not even be true, just be people talking.
Well, I remember Vladi actually posted, I think it was Vladi that posted that in one of the private chats. And I said, and he said the source, which I'm not going to say here, but I said, do we know that's a good source? In other words, is this a rumor or not, Mm-hmm. I hope it is a rumor because I think she would be great, as a villain in Captain America 4. I think, man, I'd be pulling for her to take out the Avengers, or something like that. It'd be pretty cool, I think. Also, I want to give a shout out to El Lamont and Jesse Fisher because they brought Screwhead to life, and we want to see Screwhead come back in the sequel and be on Alita's motorball team. Because if you remember from the manga, well, first of all, Screwhead's not in the manga, but Alita did assemble a team in the manga to take on Joshigan. And in this case, Screwhead could be on the team, for sure. Because you remember in the manga, she was picking mostly second leaguers, to be on her team against Joshigan. Of course, he just wiped the track with them. They just didn't do very well, until he got to her. And then it was a little bit more of a fight, at that point, But I think it would fit very well if Screwhead came back, she's... Because I don't think she was killed in the movie. I think she got cut in half, but below her core. So I think she could be revived, as it were, given a new body. Because it's kind of like Elle said in that interview we had with her. They could take her core and put it in different bodies, for different things. So I think she could I think most definitely she could come back. So anyway, the Creek wants her to come back. Creek wants to see Screwhead in the sequel. and team up with Alita. You know, they make up. You know, Screwhead says, "Hey, girl, I'm, you know, boy, I was misled. I was conned, and I'm gonna help you. You know." And as what Ale put, you know, she said, "Let's just burn it all down." I really love that. So, but anyway, these three are actually really good at what they do. Certainly, Rosa and Elle are really great actresses, and Jessie's a really super stunt woman. So, you know, it would be a big plus. You know, I think it would add production value to the movie if all three of them were back in there. Of course, Rose is going to be back in there, but you know, I think they're just all good at what they do. And of course, as I say every week, they're great at what they do, but it sure don't hurt that they're pretty. So tomorrow we are going to have on Radio Chaos, you know, we're going to have a you know, kind of a celebration for the 200th episode
Big
of Radio
200,
Chaos. Yeah, that's right.
Oh.
And you remember 2 weeks ago we had the 99 times 2 celebration, I guess you'd call it, or stream. You
It
know.
doesn't seem that long ago. It was the 99th episode. Now it's up to 200 already. Jeez.
Oh, hell, I remember being on the 40th episode. That's how long, you know, of course, I'm not original like Matu there. You know, you and Matu have been around the Elite Army. I don't know, Channel, you've been around the Elite Army longer than I have too, I think. So, you know, I'm the newbie, I guess, around here, you know.
I have definitely been here shorter than you.
Oh, is that right?
At best, the same length of time.
Oh, okay. Because I came in about, it's early 2020. I think March of 2020 is when I came in the Elite Army. You know.
Were we talking active or passive? As in reading a lot on Reddit about Alita, or actually participating?
Well, I was on my first Alita.
In anything Alita related.
Yeah, I was on my first Radio Chaos stream. I guess it was in early summer of 2020. I remember it distinctly because my mic wasn't working. So the only way I could communicate was, you know, in the chat, and Maxie had to relay what I said in the chat. My mic just wasn't working. So anyway, I remember that like it was yesterday because it's really irritating, you know. But since early summer of 2020 is, I guess you could say, I was active, you know. Okay, well, join us for that tomorrow. And once again, why is this image here? Well, that image is there because the Creek likes it. And he's running the stream, as a matter of fact. And to paraphrase Gruishka, I'm only here for our girl. And the Alita Army, and all of us are only here for our girl. And of course, we have, you know, we got 3 really good folks on the panel today, and then kind of this is what we put together every week. And of course, Angelus didn't make it today because, you know, I guess he might be working, I think is the way that is. And, you know, he's, you know, sometimes it's early there too in Australia when we do the stream. And I did pull it back an hour so Matu and Channel wouldn't be so sleepy when we got off the stream. So,
I have an idea.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if my internet will handle it, but I could I've drawn Alita as we've seen on paper, but I could try drawing Alita on the tablet for the first time during a stream.
Oh, yeah, do it.
We can do this. Now, next week, we're going to have a manga reading. We're going to read the 2nd volume of Mars Chronicles next week. But how about Channel the week after that? That'll give you 2 more weeks to practice.
Oh, I'm not going to be practicing a lot for the...
Oh, you're going to be going to school is what you're going to be doing.
Yeah, and then when I do draw on the off time, it's usually on paper. So,
well, that's okay. I mean,
it's going to be fun.
But yeah, it would. Yeah, I would love to see that. So yeah, let's plan on that. Channel 2 weeks from today, you will draw us a caricature.
On the mainstream or on the on the Friday stream or on the weekend stream? I mean, they're both weekend, but
you mean on the Radio Chaos stream? I think. Let me see what let's see what the what that looks like.
I mean, it can wait.
Yeah, we could do that. So let's see. I think they've got something planned all the way through the 9th of March. But what we can do, next weekend, they're doing a manga reading as well. And then we got a watch party on the 17th of February. And the reason why I know that because that's my birthday. So we're going to have a Creaky's birthday event. But anyway, let me run that by Maxie. If you want to do it on the Radio Chaos stream, we can definitely, Maxie's always looking for topics. Whereas here on this stream, we just kind of, sometimes Angelus and I throw something together at the last minute. So that's the way that works. So, but anyway, I'll check with Maxie, and if he feels like they're booked up or something like that, then you can do it on this stream if you want, channel. But we'll get you on a stream. How about that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess that just leaves one thing to do, and that would be the call to action. And that's going to be on my count of 3. And that's going to be 1, 2, 3. Fill
Sickles,
baby. And we will catch you next week on the Alita live stream and tomorrow on Radio Chaos. So good day or good night.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
What's up, Alita Army? This is Hot Toys Alita, and I hope you enjoyed this week's Alita live stream. Please join my Uncle Creek, Angelus, and our other guests for next week's show. Remember, I do not stand by in the presence of evil, and film those sequels, baby. See you next time.